I'm going to go ahead and start, and I'm going to put on my NHD hat. I wear 3 hats, sometimes 17, but today I'm just wearing 3. And I'll go ahead and give an update and introduction about our Seller's Choice NHD company that we have here in our family of One Team companies. And then I'm going to throw it over to Felicia Wellborn with Inspiro Financial, who's going to give us an update as to what's happening with Inspiro and just an introduction as to how fabulous she is and her specialization with lending in the lending world. And then last but not least, our newest escrow officer with All Valley Escrow, Sue Erke, will speak and also give a little introduction of herself and kind of explain the joys of escrow and what to expect when you're in them. I know we have agents on all different experience levels on this call, and that's great. We welcome you. And really, we want you to just have a face with a name and an understanding of what our roles are in this company and how we plan to be a partner in your success and treat you like the family that you are to us over here with One Team. So I'll go ahead and start. For those of you who don't know me, I think I know everybody on the call, but just in case, my name is Kendall Baker. I am your One Team representative. I have the privilege of that role in this company, Century 21 Everest. And basically, that's just a fancy word that I get to be your go-between or your liaison to connect you with our affiliated companies. We do have 3 of them that I represent, and that is Seller's Choice NHD, Inspiro Financial, and All Valley Escrow. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little briefly about Seller's Choice NHD, and just so you know what an NHD report is and what our company offers. I know most of you are very familiar with a natural hazard disclosure report, but it is a report required in a residential resale or commercial resale transaction, and it is exactly that. It's a report. It's a disclosure report, and it is required that we disclose 6 risk factors for the state of California where that property lies. Those being special flood hazard area, high fire area, earthquake fault zones, potential flood areas, wildfire zones, and seismic hazard zones. Just so you know, in our beautiful home of Southern California, almost everything falls in one or more of those zones. So please don't let it be an alarm to your buyers, but understand that it is important that they recognize and understand where exactly that property falls in relation to all of those things. And that's the point of this report. That's why it's the seller's obligation to provide it to that buyer. It covers, among those 6 things, many other things like Megan's Law offenders and different kind of details like that. I can send you an example of a natural hazard disclosure report if you haven't seen one before, but it is a required disclosure in your transaction. I do like to suggest to many of our agents that the sooner you order your reports, the better. And what that means to me is if I'm a listing agent, I would go ahead and order that natural hazard disclosure report at listing, because it's just one more thing you can check off your list you know has been taken care of. When you order a report with Seller's Choice NHD, you can contact me directly, or we do have an online portal called mysellerschoice.com where you can create an account and order it all by yourself. You don't need anything special to be able to order it, just the property address. And you do need to know the type of report. There are 2 different reports that you can order. You can order a basic natural hazard disclosure report or an environmental natural hazard disclosure report. Environmental digs a little bit deeper. It does cost a little bit more because of that, and I'll go over costs at the end, but environmental hazard reports include man-made hazards is what they categorize them as. So oil and gas wells, solid waste facilities, right? If there's like a compost facility or something nearby, man-made hazards. An earthquake fault zone is not a man-made hazard. Environmental reports include man-made hazards. Toxic chemicals or radiation sites, anything like that. I don't want to get too into the minutia because I don't want it to sound too boring. I want to keep natural hazard disclosures as exciting as I can, but understand that there is a difference in reports, your basic and your environmental. Your basic report is $79. Your environmental report is $99. Another piece.
I'm sorry, so sorry to interrupt. I believe Helene she's raising her hand.
Oh, I can't even see that. Please,
yeah,
Helene.
I'm going to monitor that for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Chris. Yes, Helene.
I just have a question, Kendall. I know on one of these reports gives you, in case there was, like if the owner had a flood in the house and claimed it on an insurance claim, what do we need to write in for that report so we can know if there were any insurance claims against the property? Do you have that in a report as well?
You know what?
That's not, oh, go ahead, Kendall.
Go ahead, Fred, because I don't believe so.
That's not an NHD report. That used to be called the CLUE report.
Yeah.
Correct.
It used to be provided by the NHD companies.
Right.
About 2 years ago, there was some issue with privacy, so they don't provide them anymore. So what I do is I usually ask the seller or the buyer can call his insurance agency and see if there's any claims in the last 5 years, or the seller can provide you a letter from their insurance company.
So we cannot actually get a report anymore on that then. Is that
That's
correct,
correct.
Fred?
That's
Oh,
correct.
okay. Okay. Because not everybody is honest. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but the insurance companies, well, when your buyer gets a new policy, they're going to have.
Then it shows, exactly. Then it shows up, but it would be nice to know ahead of time. So,
You'll be able to
right.
address it or ask the seller
Yeah.
to. So, sorry, Kendall.
No,
Okay,
God bless
no,
you,
thank
Fred.
you. Perfect.
So glad you could elaborate on that, Fred. So God bless you. Thank you. Always interrupt. You know far more than I on the subject. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, like I was saying, you have the basic report and the environmental report. The other piece of a natural hazard disclosure report, which is included on either one, the basic or the environmental, is the tax disclosure report. As you may or may not be aware, when a buyer purchases a piece of property, of course, the taxes that they're going to owe on that home are going to be different, generally in this market, vastly different from the taxes that the seller is currently paying. It's called a supplemental tax bill that the buyer will receive after closing. And it basically covers the assessment difference between what the seller was paying in property taxes and what the buyer is now going to be paying. It's an important concept that your buyer understand how much their taxes are going to be. Inspiro can speak to the fact that they do that calculation quite often, very accurately, lenders do, to give your buyer that understanding. But the tax disclosure report and that calculation is in fact a part of your natural hazard disclosure report. And on our portal, mysellerschoice.com, there is actually a tax estimator that you can go into with your buyer and sit there and calculate with them, as long as you know the purchase price for the home and the county or city that the home is located in. So just another tool that I want to make sure you know about. Lenders are really your best conversationalists to have that conversation with your buyer about taxes. But let's say you're early in the process and they're just kind of throwing numbers out, as is so important to do with your buyers ahead of time. You can go into our portal, My Seller's Choice, and use our tax estimator feature that's in there. So I just want to point out that resource for you. One other thing that My Seller's Choice does offer is a free tenant disclosure report. It is required on a lease listing that your seller does disclose to the tenant, the future tenant, if the property lies in a flood zone. And that is a report that we offer free of charge, complimentary to our agents. If you need to order one, again, you can go to the portal and do so yourself, or you can contact myself as your representative and I can order that for you, and it is free of charge.
A question.
Yes.
So with regards to going onto the mysellerschoice.com website, do we automatically have accounts being C21 Everest agents? Or
Yes.
is it just an account that's just there?
Every Century 21 Everest agent an account was created for them on their behalf. The emails, though, with that information were probably sent out 2 years ago and got lost in microspace. So all you have to do is go on to My Seller's Choice, put in your email address and hit forgot password, and you'll be prompted and you can create your own.
I never knew about this tax estimator thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
glad.
love that.
Yeah, I'm very glad that can be helpful for you. Yeah, it's nice. There's a plethora of tools out there. Sometimes I feel like we're all drinking water out of a fire hose and there's 19 different ways to get something, but you can't remember the simplest one. And so I like to just remind you when I can that we do have that feature available. And it's very user-friendly. The website is very user-friendly. Our escrow officers, I know, quite often do the ordering of your NHD reports for you, and they can attest to really how easy the website. Your reports are generated normally within a minute. They're in your email. If for some reason you have a mobile home or a piece of vacant land or new construction, something that requires a manual search, those can take about 1 to 4 hours, give or take. They will take a little bit longer, but we strive to be, as responsive and quick as possible on the turn time on our reports. And I would say 90%, 95% of the time you will have your report within under a minute in your email.
It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hope that's helpful. If there's any other questions, you can raise your hand and Chris will flag me down, or feel free to use the chat feature, whatever is easiest for you. And I'm privileged also to represent Inspiro Financial. I'm so proud to work alongside our loan officers over there. Rates have been fantastic. The lending world has been on fire. You know, you just see these stats that we closed more in like the third quarter of 2020 than we did in all of 2019. It's just been a booming market for us, and we're so grateful for our Everest partnership and to be part of the Everest family. So today I'm going to have Felicia Wellborn here, one of our 6 loan officers in California, speak to you a little bit about what she specializes in with Inspiro and tell you about how fabulous she is. So,
oh, thanks, guys.
You're
My
welcome.
headset just told me that I'm my battery's low. So I'm going to do my best to get through this pretty quickly for you. Most of you know me. My name is Felicia Wellborn. I've been in the business for over 25 years. I started when I was 10, so no worries. I began my career as an escrow officer, so I have a lot of appreciation for the girls here that are from escrow. It is a brutal job. I saw that there was a need in the business for someone that that was honest and upfront in the lending. I had so many clients that didn't know their interest rate, didn't know what they were coming to the table with. So it's important to me to keep my buyers informed to the whole process. I'm really excited to be here at Inspiro. I feel very blessed to be part of the lending team. It has been such a good experience. We've got a great group of girls. There's 6 of us, and we have each other to bounce ideas off of and have asked questions of. So it really is a bonded team, and we really enjoy working with all the Everest agents. Your offices are always kind, very warm to us. Going into them is a pleasure, and I can't wait to get back to that. We had a bump up in the rates, the mortgage loan amounts this year. So we've gone from, this is the conventional lending and FHA loans. We've gone from conventional going up to 520,450. We've gone up to 543,250. So that's been great. And then our high balance has actually kicked up in Ventura County from 713,000 to 739,450. So that means you get a little better interest rate at the lower amount at 543, and just almost as good an interest rate when you go up to the 739. So it's excellent to have this. We have first-time homebuyer programs where there's down payment assistance. I happen to be very familiar with those. I've put several clients in them. Matter of fact, I'm doing a refinance for a client now that 8 months ago, they got into their house with the down payment program. Their value is raised enough for me to get them into an even better mortgage now. So it's really exciting to be able to really give someone that home ownership with just a couple $1,000 do they need to bring to the table. So probably about the amount that they would have to put down on a rental. So I actually turned one of my agents' rental persons into a home buyer. So they got to spend their first Christmas in their own home. We have a lot of programs. We've got a few outside the box programs. We have bank statement programs. We have, of course, we have first and second piggybacks that are coming into play. We'll do those analysis for you to make sure that it's the best loan program for your particular client's needs. We're working on getting some different things to where we can, marketing programs that will be able to help us partner together to help us get more leads and to get you guys more clients out there. So I'm looking forward to getting really into that in the next couple of months. So we're really excited to be here. Glad to have you guys, and please give me a call anytime you need anything. I love to answer questions, and I love to share my information. Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia. That's so helpful. I want to touch on those marketing pieces really quick because I know all of our offices and our agents are working on our door dropping efforts with our agents. And you may have seen one of our pieces from Inspiro, the do's and don'ts of home buying. And I was having a conversation with the manager yesterday, and just given my background in farming and the classes I used to teach in that regard, there's really a way you can get very strategic in your farming efforts with your door dropping and really target renters who a lot of time are first-time home buyers. So working with Felicia and getting those first-time home buyer programs to leave at the door drop, for those tenants becomes a very valuable piece. Instead of casting a net and hoping it lands with the right audience, we can farm and create a list of doors where you know a tenant is in that home and give them a piece about being a first-time home buyer. So I find the better results you get with farming, the more specific and strategic you get in your pieces. And Inspiro is really here to partner with you in creating those so that you can target condos, townhouses, even single-family residences that have tenants in them. And then, of course, as an agent, I would never neglect the landlord who often doesn't live locally, and I would send them a piece on 1031 exchanges, only because they're clearly an investment property owner. They may be sick of being a landlord that month and always interested in what the market's doing. So if you send them a piece on a 1031, they can decide that they want to, you know, turn that money out of a residential home and into a triple net lease where they just connect a check without having to fix a water heater every time it goes out, and it makes more sense for them financially. So please understand, I'm here for you to be able to pick my brain and go over some strategic marketing pieces that Inspiro can create for you, and also help you with your title partner, getting them involved as well. Because there's a lot of ways to get really creative out there, and let's be honest, we really need more inventory, and it's up to us to get out there and door drop and do it. So thank you for that, Felicia. I just want to elaborate on our door dropping pieces.
You're welcome. We're also, just a quick second, we're also doing pre-approvals for clients so that hopefully their offer will be put at the top of the pile instead of the bottom, so that their mortgage contingency can be removed. So that's a real leg up for some of these people that are getting 5, 6 offers on the same house.
So not just a pre-qualification, but a pre-approval actually.
Yes,
and what's the difference between those two? So what's the difference between those two, just so we can understand?
It's actually getting the borrower qualified, credit qualified. Then all we need to do is make sure the property conforms to the guidelines of the loan.
And does that take any longer to get a pre-approval letter from Inspiro than a pre-qualification letter? Obviously, the property needs to be identified. Yeah. Is there anything more?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and issue a pre-approval letter with no problem with just getting their information and doing an automated underwriting engine. But we're looking at actually putting clients through, having our underwriters look at their file so that we can have their actual credit approval, and we know that they themselves can afford the property that they're buying and the loan amount that they're going into.
Awesome. And if I were a listing agent and had an offer with an actual pre-approval that had gone through, you know, that amount of underwriting versus a pre-qualification with a lender who I've never heard of before, obviously the strength of that offer is
much better.
So awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Felicia. I appreciate it. All right. Any questions for Inspiro?
Yes, we have one from Leslie. I think she was referring this to Felicia. So then you can remove the loan contingency. Leslie, can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, your loan contingency is basically on your client so that they can qualify for the loan that they apply for. So it just, you also have your appraisal contingency. So with saying, you know, we've already got the mortgage approved for my client is going to give you a leg up. So we know that, so we'll set, they're looking in the $700,000 price range. We'll give them the $700,000. We'll put everything through and make sure that they're qualified personally, credit, income, all of that for the $700,000 loan amount or sales price.
So basically,
then you don't really have to put a loan contingency in it, or you can shorten it to 5 days.
Okay, I think that's what she's referring to. So not to remove it completely, there's still a contingency.
It depends on, I've had clients that have removed it completely.
Okay, but it varies with the clients. Yeah,
it does. It does. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Felicia. Thanks, Leslie. Good to see you, by the way. I miss seeing your face. It's good to see it here. I'm going to go next over to Sue. Sue Erickey is our newest escrow officer, not new to the business, but new to our All Valley escrow family. And so this month we thought it would be fantastic to start with an introduction of Sue to all of you. Undoubtedly, she's a new face to you. And I'm going to have her speak for a little bit about the escrow process, kind of what that looks like, what to expect, and tell us a little bit about herself as well. So Sue, you are up.
Hi, everybody. I am Sue Erickey, and I am so excited to be here at All Valley. Great group of people. It's so supportive. All the people are so supportive. And it's just been a wonderful experience. I've been in the industry since 1996. I've done REOs, short sales when that boom was going. I've done, of course, resales and commercial refinances. Most recently, for a little over a year, I was working with Jennifer Felton, who's an local attorney who represents a lot of Southern California's escrow companies as their general attorney. And she takes on the escrows that most of her clients, the escrow companies, don't want or can't handle, which some of those happened to be cannabis transaction that we worked on a lot. So it was just varied, and that was what my draw to her office was. It was just so different than mainstream because of the cannabis transactions, and I worked on those all over the place in Chicago and Michigan and Pennsylvania and all over the place. So that was very interesting. But I love my mainstream. I love working with people and with agents, and that's why I chose All Valley, was because the way that Sam and Kim presented it to me, they're the ones that sold me. The way they presented it to me, it's like a family, and that's what it should be. So I'm really looking forward to meeting everybody's, new agents and their clients and stuff like that. I'm really looking forward to it. Please let me know if I can help you in any way, but yeah, that's my thing. I'm here to stay, hopefully.
Yes, you are, and we are so grateful you're here, Sue. Thank you so much for being here. For those agents we have on the call, I kind of like to speak to them about the role escrow can play, before they have an accepted purchase contract. A lot of times we encourage our listing agents to reach out to escrow when they're preparing to go on that listing appointment. And, what is it that you can do to maybe assist them before they actually have that listing, or while they're at their listing appointment? What can you prepare them with? I know
Well,
sometimes
the best thing to prepare with would be an estimated or net sheets as to if you have some idea what the purchase prices are. You can have several of them so that you can present them and they can see a hard copy of the figures, the estimated figures, so they have some kind of an idea, because it's kind of scary. I mean, most buyers and sellers only do a handful of transactions in their lifetime. But we do them every day, sort of the agents. So it's got to be pretty scary for the buyers and sellers, but you can at least present them with net sheets. And the whole purpose of escrow itself is to protect the sellers and buyers. It gives them, and you can use that too. The agents can use that as well. We protect each side and make sure that nothing happens without consent from both parties. So as far as agents going on a listing, my biggest thing would be, I would say, order a preliminary title report, because you want to find out if there's any liens or encumbrances that you weren't aware of, tax liens and stuff like that. If they're having trouble, like that was back in the day when there were short sales too. If they're having a short sale, chances are really good they didn't pay their taxes. So there's probably a tax lien attached. So it seems that it would save a lot of time for the agent if they had a preliminary title report and knew about the property. Number one, and then net sheets for presentation. And HD reports would be a good thing to have too, because you can present to the buyer and show that it's in a flood zone or it's not in a flood zone. And like you said, the taxes and Melrose and all that kind of stuff. So.
Right. Absolutely. I like to, once we're in escrow, and some of our new agents I know may have not had that experience yet or are in their first one, tensions and emotions tend to be running high. I know even when I purchased my own home, I was a nervous ball of wreck, and I've been in this industry for 18 years. And, no matter what, emotions are always a little heightened when it's your home or your purchase and things of that nature. Always. It's just a part of the industry. Is there any kind of best practices? Obviously, you spoke to getting a net sheet at listing that you can help our agents with, and ordering that prelim and that NHD. But once they're actually in escrow, what is the best way to kind of ensure a smooth transaction? What are you able to do to kind of help that communication factor with our agents and with clients, especially in this day and age of COVID, where people aren't coming in and sitting across the desk from you as they used to be in the past?
But that's really not a problem in this day and age. It would have been probably 20 years ago, but in this day and age, we've got Zoom, we've got FaceTime, we've got all these tools that we can help. And the main importance of escrow is to make the buyers and sellers comfortable. Now we're going to send them at the opening of the escrow, we're going to send them a big fat package of paperwork that they need to fill out. And depending on the agent, some agents like to sit down with their client and do it themselves because it's a bonding thing for them or whatever their reason is. But other agents, it's not their paperwork, it's escrow's paperwork. And we are always happy to go through every single piece of paper with a client. We want them to be comfortable. That's the whole point, is to make sure that they're able to contact us with any kind of questions and go over the paperwork hand by hand, page by page with them. That feel a lot better right away. And then they understand what it is and what they're signing and completing. So that's helpful. But the transaction, the most difficult part is filling out the paperwork and getting back to us. That's it, because we need that for lenders and insurance and title and all kinds of things. So that's why it's so important.
Right. And I know, obviously, buyers and sellers alike will call into escrow to ask questions on their form. One of those forms that we always get questions on from buyers is the vesting information form. No matter how simple I feel like we try to make that escrow form, it's always one of those that has so many choices and it can get really complicated. And so I know as agents, escrow officers and agents walk this line, you have to be very careful. You're not in a position to be giving any sort of legal advice. So what is it that you can do for a buyer or borrower who calls in and says, I have a vesting instruction in front of me, I have no idea how to fill it out, what do I do? Where do you send them?
Done this for buyers a million times because there are tax ramifications to how they hold title. So I do encourage them to speak to their accountant, but I can explain what the differences are. I mean, we have it on a piece of paper, choices, but it helps to explain it. If I can verbally explain it to them and they understand the paper better, it makes it a little more comfortable for them, I think. But again, you're right. We can't act as their accountant or their attorney. That's a liability to us or the agents. But we can certainly make them feel a little more comfortable about what it is, so they have knowledge is power. So if they understand what their charge, can then check with their accountant to make sure that tax-wise or however, that's the best choice for them.
Right, and the same to be said, I imagine, for the 593 form with the seller, right? That's another form that I know, there's certain forms that are just kind of ones that get the most questions.
Always.
It's with the buyer, it's vesting and maybe the PCOR, and with the seller, it's, the 593 and the 1099. It always sends them on their side. And so giving that same advice, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. They always ask the same questions because they're not our forms. The 593, it's a government form. And
a little bit of background noise. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not very read, but again, if someone's there to walk them through it so that you're sure they understand what the choices are, and they can answer questions, so I can help guide them, as to what they should be looking into. And again, the sellers especially should be looking into their accountant. That's a big one because there's so many tax forms that they have to fill out and make sure that they're doing it accurately. But that's really important. That's one of my major part of my job is making sure my clients, which are the agents too, but the clients are the seller and buyer ultimately. And they need to feel comfortable because, like I said, we do it every day. And so it's not that big of a deal to us, but to them, it's a huge deal. It's a life change.
Of course.
Hand is a must.
Absolutely. Thank you. And one other question. I know we see a lot of ownership in a trust. And, a lot of attorneys suggest to our homeowners, put your home in a trust. It's the safest way to protect your biggest asset. And I obviously am a firm believer in that. But quite often you'll see parents, have their home in a trust and they've passed and the kids are now the one working with our agents to sell their home. And there can be a lot of kind of information missed in between. And so what can agents do if that's their situation of a listing to prepare themselves? What documentation do they need to be ready to hand you an escrow if they are
That's a very, very good question, because it depends on how we complete our signature lines, the questions that we have. First of all, if it's Joe and Sam Smith that are owners of a home and they're in a trust, if it was already in a trust when they're selling it, they're not just turning themselves into a trust, you know that they just need a trust certification form that we provide, because you know they're in a trust and they're just certifying that nothing has changed. But if Joe and Sam Smith's mother died and left them as successor trustees, then that's where the problem comes in. You need to be sure that there's not two other siblings waiting out there that should be authorized to sign on behalf of the trust as well. So we need a copy of the trust showing who has authority to sign on behalf of the trust. And all they are is the hand of the trust, is what I like to say. It's still their parents' trust. And it's all about their parents, but they are the hand that has been authorized to sign on behalf of the trust. So that's where the title's going to ask for a copy of the trust along with a trust certification form.
Right. Right, a copy of the trust and the trust certification form. And then obviously if anyone's passed away or anybody is incapacitated, at that point, obviously, title would review the trust and dictate what additional documentation they would need. In my experience, of course, they're going to need death certificates. And if somebody is incapacitated, right, which
and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, quite often a trust will ask for 2 doctor's notes, certifying the incapacitation. I will say something that comes up time and time again is the use of a power of attorney. And a lot of times homeowners or siblings or children will come in and say, oh, my parent is in an assisted living facility and they live in Virginia. I'm here selling their home. Here's the power of attorney. Is that something that would suffice in an escrow transaction?
Well, yeah, it would, depending on how old it is. That's kind of up to title too, but
right.
If it's recent, then there's a notary that's certified that the person that is in this home care facility is stood what they were doing.
Right.
Notary's job was in that capacity. But yeah, power of attorney should be fine as long as if they're buyers. Well, they wouldn't be buyers, I guess. But the only question, as far as a buyer would go, would be if the lender would allow a power of attorney. And sometimes most times they don't, but.
So really another best practice that has come out of this conversation, which I feel is so invaluable, is if you find yourself in a listing where there is those kinds of red flags coming up, a trust, a power of attorney, someone's incapacitated or in a home, the sooner you can have your conversation with your escrow officer like Sue or any of our girls at All Valley, and the sooner they can then bridge that conversation with your title officer, the more likely you are to ensure a smooth transaction. There have and always will be things that come up at the end, and that sends everybody into a panic mode, right? And our goal is really to ensure as much of those hurdles to be crossed prior to, or at least as early as possible, right? Yes. Undoubtedly there are hurdles, but the sooner we can get over them and through them, the better. Same with, in the financing world, in the lending world, with, any borrowers or income statements, but really, especially in the escrow and title world, because with the influx of business that we've seen at the end of the year, a lot of our title companies have been buried. And the sooner we can bring those trusts to them for review or even a statement of information. I know that's something we didn't cover, and I may be going deeper than I mean to be with our Meet the Affiliates campaign, but I just want you to know the level of education that our escrow officers bring to you at All Valley is like none in the business. And I want you to feel comfortable in knowing no matter what your transaction brings to the table, give us a call. Give us a call as soon as you learn that information from your seller or buyer. Let us know. There's generally not stuff we haven't seen before, given, Sue's experience in the business as well. I hope we never see cannabis escrows, but who knows, we might at All Valley one day. At least we know Sue's ready to handle them if we do, but I want you to know there's not much that we haven't seen or had experience in, and the sooner we can have those conversations with your title company of choice, the better armed you are and the better armed your clients will be, should there need to be an affidavit for an uninsured deed or, you know, a death certificate obtained from another state, or things in that nature. I really appreciate how our business has changed with COVID in the past year. And I think Sam said it so well at Summit, or maybe it was John who said, you know, we've learned how to get through this. We've learned how to do business in this industry and thrive, even though so much of our world has changed so dramatically in the past 9 months. And really the message I want you to hear is that your affiliates have changed and grown with you. We are here to be a resource and a partner in your transaction. We're here to make your life easier. We know that when you choose us, we are a reflection of you to your clients, and we take that role very seriously. We're very proud to be that choice for you, and we're here to earn your business. And if there's ever a question you have, either from an NHD standpoint, a lending standpoint, an escrow standpoint, or anything else in between, we're here for you. So if there are any other questions for us or any of our other fabulous escrow officers on the call, we are here. Again, Chris, let me know if there's anything more.
I do not see anything on the chat box, and no hands are risen.
Thank you. Like, you gotta love technology, whether it's the raise the hand or the emoji or whatever it is.
Right.
We're grateful for it. So thank you for taking your time out of your busy day to be here with us. Please know it's a privilege to be a resource to you, and we are here. And yeah, we wish you a fantastic rest of your afternoon. Yes, Chris.
Okay, I think it would be a great idea if you were just to send to all of the agents a little reminder about your NHD website and how that it's a free website, and if we have immediate access, and to do forget the password
Okay.
thing.
Wonderful.
I think that's just a lot of information. And also, can we get contact information for Felicia and for Sue? I think I've seen it, but maybe, you know, just all.
Yeah. I'll follow
in
up
one?
with an email for
That'd be
everybody
awesome.
on the call, and then to all agents with the contact information for the girls who spoke today.
Okay.
And then we have updated marketing pieces coming out to all of your offices with Sue. We're just getting our headshots done and making sure our glamour photos are all in place. And there will be updated flyers coming out to all of our branches in February.
Love that.
So
Awesome.
yeah, absolutely. Anything you need, we're here for you. Thank you
Everybody's
so much.
thanking you for great information, Kendall.
Oh, thank you. You bet. Thanks for taking the time to be on the calls. And we do this every month. Remember, we are here. And we will also be doing a deeper escrow dive in a couple weeks as well, talking about our escrow business and kind of some of the pitfalls and special recordings and things of that nature that we've been seeing come across the desk. So look for that class in a couple weeks.
Awesome.